I ran marketing departments in corporate America for 10 years and then ran a digital agency for over another 10 years. So I know the roadmap to online success, and that formula always includes producing content to share your message, from your marketing message to sales and delivery. Hi, I'm Jennifer Neal, and you're listening to the Content Toolbox. I believe the secret to finding and creating raving fans online is through you. In building relationships through stories that share who you really are, create genuine, crazy, raving fans that keep begging you to take their money. And on this podcast, we'll be talking strategies, tactics, tips, and more with myself and other industry experts. So buckle up and start your engines, because it's go time. All right, welcome everybody. I am super excited to have on the show today a good friend that I met through going to some awesome events. And he is going to share some really cool things with us. He's always doing some awesome things. I love talking with him. So I'm super excited. Please welcome Mr. Michael Ruiz. Yay, fanfare. You call yourself, I don't want to get it wrong. It's the Robin Hood of real estate?
Foreclosures and real estate.
Foreclosures and real estate.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. So I want to hear where that came from, but also tell us like a little bit about yourself and kind of what you do.
Okay. Well, that's quite easy. I've been in the real estate business for over 37 years, to be exact, since 1983. And that's when I was an adult. I was 18 years old at the time. But actually, the foreclosure part of it started probably when I was 15 years old, because as a 15-year-old kid, I would do research for this investor. Back before computers, they had, for those of you that are old enough, they had like thermal paper computers with no monitors. It was crazy. So it was so crazy that this investor would pay me like $100 a week for me to go in and download from the local university library all the list of all the foreclosures that were coming up in the courthouse steps down here in Miami, where I'm from. And that's how I started in that business, because I would sit there and I would do the search, and then I would just they would have to, the university library would have to change the thermal paper for me, because I was just going and going and going. And then my job was to get that roll of paper, cut it on each property, and hand it over to him. Fast forward in 1983, when I was graduating from high school, my plan was to go and join the Air Force. Well, because I always wanted to fly. I still have a huge passion to fly. It's still on my bucket list to get my pilot's license. But what happened was I hurt my back, like literally 3 weeks before I was supposed to go to boot camp. I ruptured my disc. So being in a hospital bed, I remember the doctor comes in, and I was already feeling better after like 3 days, because they had me all medicated and whatnot. And I'm telling him, hey, can I go home? And he says, what's your rush? And I go, well, I got to go in 3 weeks. I got to start boot camp. And he says, son, you're not going to be able to go to the Air Force. And I go, oh, yes, I am. And he says, no, you're not. You want to know why? And I go, yeah, why? And he says, because I'm the physician at MIPS. MIPS is where they accept and they take in all these new recruits, and you got to go through all this physical stuff. He was a physician for this. And when I understood what he was saying, I just started crying, because that was my only plan in life. He turned around, he left. 20 minutes later, my mom walks in. She finds me crying. She says, Michael, what's wrong? And I tell her, Mom, this happened. And she says, oh, don't worry about it. You know what? Just get your real estate license and start working with me until we figure out what you're going to do. And fast forward, I did that. At 18 years old, I got my real estate license, and that is all I've been doing my entire adult life. That's how my real estate career started back in 1983. And I started working with, foreclosures and stuff back with that investor. So fast forward throughout all these years, and you get now to 2008, when the real estate market crashed. Well, everybody that was in real estate got affected, because all the lenders started falling off. They all started filing bankruptcy. It got to the point where even me, myself, there was nothing for me to do. I couldn't sell houses because there was no financing. I couldn't sell houses because people couldn't get the financing, because they couldn't afford it, because all those type of lenders were gone. So I got to the point where I had to reinvent myself. And the reason I had to reinvent myself is because I too started to lose my home in foreclosure. So panicked myself, I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How do I stop this? What can I need to drag this out until I figure out what I'm going to do for a living to make money. So it got to the point where, I had my contacts, and I remembered touching base with a secretary, a legal secretary who worked for a title company. And she told me that her boss, who was an attorney, started also reinventing himself from doing real estate typical closings to doing foreclosure defenses and stuff like that. So she started feeding me some of the stuff, and I just started to learn. It's like, oh, wait. So then I started helping other people modify their loans so that they can try to stay in their homes. Well, within less than a year, the state came and they said, nope, you can't do that unless you're an attorney. So it's like, all right, I got to make money. So how does this work? So fast forward some more. I'm here learning, well, what do I do for my foreclosure? And I needed to delay it and drag it out and do whatever. So I'm just learning. I'm going into the courthouse steps. I'm going into, online dockets and all this other stuff. And it was crazy. And it got to the point where I was advertising myself with this tiny website that was a free website. And all I did was I got this template and I changed the name. It was for something else, but I made it my own and I posted it and somehow it was there and people started finding me and I started getting clients to help people modify their loan and stuff. But then I found a way to get around the legal part legally. I'm a loophole guy. It got to the point where I couldn't do loan modifications because they were regulating it. So I started doing foreclosure defense, but I couldn't do foreclosure defense because I'm not an attorney. So this is what happened. This was huge for me because throughout all this turmoil, I'm also going through some other personal issues with my son's mom and legality issues and all this other stuff and custody battles and all this other stuff. And I learned this. I remember being in court one day with my attorney and we're going over this issue having to do with my son and custody and all this stuff. And the hearing for that day was not going well for me. We took a break to go to lunch with my attorney and we're discussing my case and I'm flustered. And then my attorney says, Michael, hold on. A judge just walked in, not my judge, but a judge that he knew. He says, give me a second. I'm going to go talk to this guy. Stay here. And I don't follow rules that well sometimes. So I kind of got up and I just kind of walked backwards with my back towards them just so I kind of eavesdrop. So I was literally behind this judge listening to what he's saying. And at one point he said something that I didn't agree with. And I turned around and said, wait, but what about this, and that? And the judge turns around, he looks at me and he looks at my attorney and he says, I presume this is your client. And the attorney goes, I told you not to come here. So the judge looks at me and he says, listen, I'm sorry. I cannot give you any legal advice. I can't tell you. And as I'm starting to get dejected, he says then, but I can tell you what I would do. And so there began the All City Consulting, which is what I do. My domain name is All City Consulting. I consult for a lot of different things. And that's where it came about, where now, because of that loophole that a judge gave me, I was able to all right, so I may not be licensed to give you legal advice, but I can tell you what I would do. And for years, since 2008 to this day, one of my first disclaimers to every client that I have is you understand I'm not a real estate attorney. I'm not an attorney, but I'm experienced in this. So I'll give them my spiel. And I always tell them, so it's already even ingrained in my language and my conversations. This is what I would do. This is what I would do. Because that way nobody could ever accuse me of giving you legal advice. I'm just telling you what I would do. And based on my experience over the last 30 plus years. And so it started. And then it got to the point where I didn't market myself. And I started helping a lot of these people that were in foreclosure. So this little old lady comes to me. She was referred to me. And I started helping her because her mother died. And she was old already herself. And her mom died. And I dragged her foreclosure out probably almost 7 years. And she lived in that property for something that she's supposed to be there for a year. I dragged her for about 7 years. She did it legally. She just did what I would do.
Right.
And every time she would get a piece of paper in Spanish, she goes, "Mi Robin Hood, mi Robin Hood. How are you doing? I got this paper," because she was, Hispanic. So this lady dubbed me Robin Hood. And it stuck. Because she says, "You're always helping me. You're always helping me. You're helping all the people that can't afford this and this and that." So hence, Robin Hood of Foreclosures was born, and of real estate. So here I am.
What a great story.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I've taken it to heart now. So the ironic part is, for all these years, I've been helping people not lose their home, which leads into what? Homelessness. Well, as of late, probably for the last 2 months, I was able to get started with Jeffrey Bannock. He started this thing about feeding the homeless with just $20. And now I started doing that with him for like 2 weeks after that, and it snowballed. And even though he left Miami, we've continued this thing now. So we have this, we're starting a Robin Hood Homeless Foundation. And once a week, we get our own, it's an entrepreneurs, and we get our own funds. And now people are starting to donate. I just got a $250 donation. Somebody's asking me, he's like, hey man, I want to feed the homeless for a week. What do we got to do? And I broke it down. I'm like, this is what it costs to feed 100 homeless people. And it's just becoming a small little movement that we're beginning. So it goes hand in hand. So I'm hoping to help the people from going homeless. And all we really do is we're buying them the time that they need to figure out what can they do. Can they stay in the property? Can they afford to stay in the property? And usually that requires for you to modify a loan. And if those numbers make sense, great, you stay. If they don't make sense and the numbers are too high and you can't afford to stay there, that's fine. We're still getting you the time for you to figure out what your next move is. So if they can't stay, then it's like, all right, we're going to sell the property. So then we, as a real estate broker, then I, help them sell that property.
Yeah.
And so we help them from going homeless. And then we go to the other extreme where those that are homeless, we try to help because, through no fault of theirs, they just fell on bad, hard times.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. Well, the Robin Hood name is well earned. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about you have all this experience with real estate and foreclosures and everything that you're doing. In general, I know that there's been kind of a movement recently, but in general, most real estate agents are not using digital marketing kind of tactics. So how have you found that any digital marketing tactics, like using those in your business, what kind of turned you towards that? And how are you finding that it's helping to set you apart?
Great question. My answer is, you're not going to believe it, is not because I'm lazy, and it's not even because I'm cheap, but it falls into both of those.
That's okay.
Because it's actually cheaper, more efficient to do things digitally and automated where you don't have to worry about somebody doing their job. That if I take the time to set up certain automations in my digital business, online, it automatically does it for me. And I don't have to be pushing anybody. I don't have to be asking people, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? I don't have to be asking people to follow up with that client or whatever. So especially this last year, it's been eye-opening where I'm still in the process of implementing a lot of this stuff. But online just makes things incredibly, incredibly easier. Mm-hmm. And it's not as difficult as most people think. So it just makes things, it's more inexpensive. So this is the other thing. People talk about systems and software, and then they go into the other expense of VAs, virtual assistants, for those that don't know what I'm talking about. And all that is still cheaper, no matter what. So if anybody, and this doesn't just apply to realtors or real estate professionals or mortgage professionals, this applies to just about any and all businesses. If you're a solopreneur and you can't afford to hire people, you can't afford an office, you can't afford then you got to arm yourself with the right ammo. Or in my case, as Robin Hood, out of my quiver, arrows.
There you go.
So going online just makes things a lot easier. Not to mention, you and I have been in the business, especially in the funnel world, for quite some time. And we know that, the more you get out there, the more people see your face, the more they recognize you. And that's when they start listening to you. They start paying attention. It's like, I keep seeing this guy. I keep seeing this gal. Something's got to be working. And in the digital world, just like in any marketing, if you keep seeing that big, when you're driving by and you're seeing that big billboard out there, and it's been going on for months and months and months, those things cost like $10,000 and more a month.
Mm-hmm.
Those big billboards by the
Oh
highways
yeah,
and all
they're
that stuff.
expensive. Yeah.
Very. So if you're seeing them for months and months and months, it's obviously working because nobody has just 10 grand or more just to throw out.
Yeah.
So we don't have to spend $10,000 that way. It's very different. You know, the things that I'm learning now, even more as our world, as our digital online world is evolving, I'm excited. I am so stoked. I'm so excited. That doesn't mean that I won't get help. I will, and I'll get VAs and whatnot. But right now, I don't need to. So it doesn't have to be that expensive for anybody that wants to get on the online business.
Yeah.
You know, you can get an account with like ClickFunnels or something like that. And I use a couple of them. And once you learn how to set it up, or you pay somebody else to set it up for you because you don't have to, it just is like, wow, what a relief. You know, it's really nice. I tell people, so I've been in the real estate business so long, and a lot of people, and I've had my success and I've had my share of failures as well. And I learn from them, so I don't care. But I've had a lot of people say, well, Michael, you're such a born salesperson. And I say, I suck at selling. And they're like, no, look at all the houses. Yeah, I've lost count. I don't know how many thousands and probably tens and hundreds of thousands. I've sold a lot of property. And just like I've helped so many clients, I haven't kept track. And that's probably my fault. I probably should. Man, if I kept a database of all the people that I've helped, the testimonies would be off the charts. But one thing that I learned, the difference between sales and marketing, because I consider myself more of a marketer, not a salesperson. So anybody that talks about sales and marketing is like, listen, when it's sales, I'm trying to sell you something. Basically, I'm here trying to convince you of how good this thing is and for you to buy it. And I hate it. To me, I hate cold calls. I just won't do it.
Yeah.
I don't do cold calls. What I'd rather do is, and this is what you and I understand about the online business, is I want people calling me. Yep. So when my phone rings, or I get an email, or I get a notification of somebody saying, hey, and they're knocking on my door, that means that they already know about me. They already know who I am. They already know what I do if I did the right job, if I prep them to that point. And it's just, I don't call it a sales call. I call that a closing the deal call.
Yep, transaction.
I have to sell you. You're already, I'm sorry?
Just a transaction.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just calling me to tell me, in my opinion, when that happens, I'm here to tell you did the right thing. Let's have your credit card. Yeah. If that's what you know. I don't need to convince you about what. So there's a difference of me going out and trying to convince anybody versus being here and having calls coming to me of people telling me already, hey, I already know about you. I know what you do, and I need your help. And and they already know my price more than likely, unless it's a high ticket offer. And that depends because it fluctuates on price depending on what it is, because we have to custom price that. But there's certain basics. Yeah. So it's just like, boom, the moment that they're calling me is like, to me, that's a sure, it's not a sure sale. It's a sure, it's my job now to close the deal, make them feel comfortable, let them see the face if that's what it takes, let them see the more testimonials if that's what it takes, let them hear some of my stories of how I've been able to help others. And they'll say, man, I need that. Yeah. Because as you and I both know, our line of work on any online business, just about any business, is really whose problems are we solving? Yep. So mine is foreclosures. You need to stop that sale. You need to slow it down. You need to sell your house. You need to buy a house. I do it all, but I've also learned to micro niche it to, in my case now, foreclosures, pre-foreclosures. Yep. Preventing foreclosure and getting you the time. So online has to be. Then you integrate that with automating it with Facebook Messenger, where you can get a page and it can have that conversation. And not that you're going to be misleading them, saying they think that you're talking to, be upfront, be transparent. And you tell them, hey, this is, I have one that says, hey, this is Robin, Michael's alter ego. I'm his bot, but I know the questions that he's going to be asking you in order to help you. Do you mind if I ask? Oh, that's fun. I like that, using an alter ego as your bot. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah. So they already know that they're talking to me, but it's almost like they're talking to my right hand mechanical arm. Yeah. And then by the time that that, you know, if you want to talk to Michael, that's great, but let's get some of this information so that we can speed up the process and he can get right to the point, so that when you do have this conversation, we schedule this phone call, that way we already know what your issues are. So Michael, the Robin Hood, can be better prepared to address your questions and your issues.
Yeah.
So it's really to help you, and also to make our time more useful. You know, take advantage of the time, the little time that we all have. We all have the same 24 hours.
Yep.
Some of us have more stuff, I call it, going on than others. You know, whether you have, you know, like in this particular week, I have not one, but I have 2 deaths in the family. You know, I had car issues, you know, because, you know, yep. Robin Hood doesn't have a horse anymore. He has a car and it breaks down.
There's a whole lot of horses.
You know, so right? You know, so it's got horsepower. I don't know. We'll throw it in there somehow. But yeah, that's awesome. That's sort of kind of how, to me, is exciting to use the online world, the web, and automate as much as we can. And I'm still learning.
So you mentioned Facebook, that you have, so you're using a Facebook page or group or something, and a bot to help. What other kind of tactical tools and things like that are you using in the digital world that are helping you get and close leads?
So that's great. So recently, I just found, so I've been using ClickFunnels for quite some time. Mm-hmm. So to start, I would have ClickFunnels and I would have an opt-in page. And then from that opt-in page, it would take them, I would gather their email address, and I would gather preferably my particular field, their mobile number, because I've always been a huge fan of SMS marketing more than email, because it's proven. Everybody's got a phone. Yep. And I will look at this a lot faster than I will look at my email. There's times that I don't look at my email all day.
Yeah.
So I usually actually have my clients and other people, when they send me an email, I already instruct them, like, listen, after you send me the email, send me a text, because I get hundreds, close to 1,000 emails a day. Not to mention I have multiple email addresses for different businesses and different things.
Yep.
So texting to me is huge. So I started with ClickFunnels, you know, after I moved on back in 2008, and I, you know, got that little free website, which is no longer free. That's fine. But ever since I discovered ClickFunnels, and then all the people like you that I've met have been just mind-blowing. So I started with a website where they would opt in, give me their email, give me their phone number, and then I would follow up with them. It would take them to a page where I would explain what I do. And then if they wanted to, you know, check out what I'm doing with, you know, what I charge for certain services, it'll take them there. So that was limited to an extent, but now we've all learned how online has evolved, where now you can do what they call retargeting, which I know you do, but I don't know if your viewers know it, but you retarget them. So every time that somebody comes to my opt-in page and I put in that little bit of code where I can retarget them, even if they didn't buy and they didn't want to do anything, in my particular case, they came to me preferably because they were looking for someone to help them with their foreclosure situation. Maybe they're shy. I don't know. They don't want to continue clicking through and giving me information. Well, nowadays with Facebook, since you mentioned Facebook, and this also happens with YouTube, you know, I retarget them where once they landed on my page, even if they didn't leave me the information, boom, you know, I start in a friendly way. I call it Casper, the friendly ghost. I start following them around. It's just like everybody else here that goes to Amazon and you start looking for, I want to buy this. And all of a sudden you start finding that same thing you were looking for in all these different feeds that have nothing to do with Amazon.
Yep.
And they're all links. Well, that's retargeting for those that don't understand that. So now we get to use it for our business. So I'm in the process. Now I found another software where it combines both, actually not both. It combines to respond when somebody lands on my page. I can retarget them, and then if I am able, if they do leave me their email and their text and their mobile number, I follow up right away with both, with an email. I'll then follow up with a text telling them, hey, just to give you a heads up, I sent you an email regarding this, boom. Then all within the same software. Then I also leave them a voiceless, ringless message, where we all get those nowadays. It's like, how do I have a message? I didn't hear the phone ring. Yeah, that's done by design. For those of you that don't know that, it's called a ringless voicemail.
Yep,
And
we're sneaky that way.
we are, but listen, whatever it takes, but understand how this works, so that when I send them an email, I send them a text, and I can send them a text to another link, by the way. I can send them a text just saying, hey man, it was great to see you. I just sent you an email, whatever. You can automate it either way. You can send them also a link to your Facebook page where your messenger bot kicks in. Remember Robinhood, my alter ego.
Yep.
All these things, it just creates communication.
Mm-hmm.
So now I start hitting, the potential client that I'm trying to help, making it easier for them not to forget me, because life happens. How many times have we looked at something online, we click on a tab, and it's like we're sucked into it, and we're doing, and then, I stubbed my toe, my kid, and you go running, you totally forgot. And then dinner comes about, and then the debates came on, and so you watch that, and then you forgot. Next morning, it's like, oh snap, I forgot.
Yep.
So that's where these automations of gentle follow-ups fall in. He's like, hey man, you set it up, or you have somebody help you set it up, where it sends out another text the next day, or another email, or another voicemail.
Yep.
Something of the sort. And what that creates is, since I hate selling, it makes for the client, the potential client, to be calling me.
Yep.
So again, I don't have to try to convince you. He's like, hey man, you forgot about me?
Yeah.
No, I'll let my automation do that with my messages. And when they're ready, they're going to call me.
Yep.
It's almost, as the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. So I got to try to make sure everybody here who's in a business wants to make sure that you're not out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Because we're all easily forgettable.
Yep.
So let's not get our panties twisted. It's just in a bunch. It's just, don't take it personal. Life happens.
Well, I love it. We've actually been setting up a lot of these automation systems like you're talking about as well. And I love the ringless voicemail. It's so amazing. So I'm curious, because typically, so industry average used to be that a person would not generally engage, or like a lead would not generally engage until they had 7 to 12 touch points of communication, right? It seems like that average is actually coming up. Like we've been seeing it somewhere closer to 15 to 18 touch points. I'm curious, how many levels deep are you seeing, or how many of those touch points are you seeing on average before people are saying, okay, I'm ready to engage?
It all depends at how much of a pain point level they're at. So for example, one of my websites is, there's foreclosures, there's different foreclosure stages. And if I fast forward, the worst one is what I call the 911 foreclosure stage, which that means you're scheduled to go to auction. Your property is going to be auctioned off. There's already a date scheduled. It's going to go online, auction at 9 a.m., 30 days from the day that the judge said it, got a judgment against you. So now you're in panic mode. So it all depends at what mode your avatar, and for those of you who don't know what an avatar is, it's your client, your target client. In mine, it's homeowners that are distressed, or property real estate investors that are distressed. They're facing foreclosure. They're about to lose it all. And then, of course, I touch up on all the pain points, why they cannot allow foreclosure to go through no matter what the circumstances. And I won't bore you with all that yet, because that doesn't apply here. But it could go from 15, like you said, down to 1, 2. It all depends if they're in that 911 stage. And even that 911 stage, if they just got notified today that their house is about to go to auction in 30 days from now, well, in their mind, they probably have 30 days. But if somebody was referred to my program because their house, and it's happened multiple times, where their house is being auctioned off tomorrow, as that soon, then you don't need, you're gonna do whatever you can. You and I have been on cruises together with ClickFunnels. And think about it. If somebody falls overboard on a cruise ship as a cruise ship is taking off, you're not going to be, if I throw you one of those noodles, just a noodle, are you going to be picky about that? Or are you going to say, no, not until you send me the Coast Guard? Hell no. You're going to grab onto anything that freaking floats because you don't want to drown and die.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what pain level your avatar is.
Makes total sense. Yeah. Oh, I love it. All right. I'm going to ask you kind of a fun question. I love this one.
I love questions.
What is one of the most surprising things that you never imagined would happen, or like maybe how you've developed, or things, just how business has gone, like something that you never saw coming? What's something, one of the most surprising things, I guess, that's happened in your business journey through the years?
If I understand the question correctly, I'll see how I answer that. But to me is, when I started this journey, it turned out to be, how can I make money?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been transformed, and listening to Russell Brunson, he says it so often, you're not going to make money until you start caring about people. And then to that, you have to add the word genuinely care about people. So in my journey, I've always cared about people for so many things. I'm always the guy that everybody calls around here in my town, my family, my friends. Every time there's a problem, I'm the problem solver. And if I don't know how, I'll figure it out, and I'll find out. And I'll literally drop what I'm doing because, like, you got an emergency, I got to help you. But so I've always had that heart to help people. But when I started my real estate journey, it never started that way.
Yeah.
When I started my helping the homeowners avoid the foreclosure and stop it and get them the time, it didn't start that way. It all started like, Michael's got to make money. I got to survive. How am I going to make money? And this journey, this online journey that I've been on now, and being around the right people, and that is so important, hanging around people like you and me, and that we're all in the same, place of our thinking, I realize is like, I'm not going to make any money until I help people.
Yep.
So now, instead of me saying, so for example, I have a do-it-yourself program package that costs $9.97. Somebody needs to stop the foreclosure auction, their 911 stage, and they need to stop it in 24 hours. They can do it themselves, and I'm going to give them everything, like step by step, every single form. I'm going to give them a map to what courthouse they have to go to, that courthouse. I'm going to tell them where they can park, where they shouldn't park. I'm going to tell them how they can get there by Metro Rail, by, all these things. I want to give it all to them so that there's no excuse. So that program, I sell it for $997. It's a do-it-yourself. So nowadays, if I'm thinking, well, I want to make $1 million. Well, my mentality is really, instead of thinking about making $1 million, I break it down, and it's like, no, I need to help 1 million people. I'm lying, 1,000 people.
Yep.
I need to help 1,000 people, 1,000 families, 1,000 homes. Because everybody that's going to foreclosure, in my particular case, is not because they're deadbeats. It's just that stuff happened.
Yeah.
Whether it was a divorce, whether because now COVID and you're going unemployed, or you got laid off, stuff happened.
Yep.
I'm not here to judge anybody, because I got my own stuff. So I learned is like, for me to make a financial goal, well, all right, Michael, if that's the case, well, you got to help a whole bunch of people in the process. So now if I think about, I want to make $1 million, well, I got to, if I want to do something, this one particular program, I'm not even talking about my high ticket stuff, then I got to help, 1,000 families or 1,000 real estate investors, or a combination thereof.
Yeah.
So it changes perspective. It's not about me. So this is a conversation that I have with my daughter.
Every time I ask that question on these interviews, it's so awesome, because literally it's always some, like, I never expected to basically grow this way personally. I started the business to make money, and here I am, like, now I'm caring about people, and I'm thinking about it that way. I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
It really
Well, we
is.
are almost out of time here. So let me just ask if anyone wants to find you, find more information about your programs, follow you, where can we send them?
So the fastest way, because I knew you were going to ask me this question, and sometimes I felt bad, is like I should send everybody to a particular web page. But I'm not that sophisticated, and nobody has to be that sophisticated either. So if anybody wants to find me and what I have to offer, and I can talk about, trust me, I can talk about real estate, I can talk about family, I can talk about husbands and wives and kids, but anybody wants to find me and just ask me any of these questions, your fastest way is really find me on Facebook. And there's a lot of Michael Ruiz's out in Facebook, but there's only one. Do that again?
Big quotes.
Exactly. So when you look at Michael Ruiz, the one that has what is it called? An apostrophe?
Yep.
And an apostrophe before the M and an apostrophe after the Z of Michael Ruiz, that's me.
That's you.
You'll find me there. Don't ask me if you can do that. You can't. I'm somehow grandfathered in after, I don't know, 10 years that I did that, or 12 years. And my son had it. He took it off, and he tried to put that apostrophe back. So it's really cool, though. I've never changed it on purpose because I don't want to lose it out. But it always, like you just said, I didn't even have to say it. You already knew. It's like, yep, it's that guy. The one that has the apostrophes on the ends of the end of his name. So you can go there. And you'll find out about my programs and how to reach out to me, and whether it's through Facebook message or anything else of the sort. But yeah, I love people. There is no stupid question. The only stupid question that there is the one that you're not asking me. Oops. So ask away. I don't mind questions. I love helping people. I genuinely like to help people. It gets me in trouble a lot because I go into a rabbit hole and then I get distracted helping people. So I wanted to thank you, by the way. Thank you for this opportunity to reach out and talk to your audience. It's fun.
Absolutely.
It's fun. I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact, the opportunity that you let me do this with you.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's so fun. And it's always so much fun to learn from, I don't care what the industry is, but different personalities and different people. Like, there's always things that we can learn. So that's been a really fun thing with doing the podcast here and having different guests on. So,
well, what's really interesting about what you're saying, it ties into a question that you asked me earlier, the difference between going online and basic, typical local brick and mortar stuff. This online world, anybody that is listening to this podcast and or watching this interview is just, get plugged in with people that are like-minded, like we are here, because I actually bought the domain. I haven't done anything with it, internationalfamilia.com.
Oh.
I have it. I don't have it because I legitimately have international friends because of our online community that we have.
Yep.
I have friends in Europe,
Yeah.
Venezuela.
I know. It's so
Russia.
fun to be like, oh, I want to go travel somewhere. Oh yeah, I know somebody there. Oh yeah, I know somebody there.
Yes. Yes. You're absolutely right. It happens. I have a friend that lives in Canada, and he came down and he stayed with us for like a week. And so he's like, Michael, when are you and Marlene going to go back, come up to, it's like, so I know I got a place to go when I go to Canada.
Yep.
In Vegas and stuff. I have places that I can go, but these are genuine friends that we've made. And it's the beautiful part is that we're all like-minded. We're all understanding each other because of conversations like this that you and I are having, and because we attend some of these events. And now lately they've been virtual, but the real stuff will come back. But it's international event. You know what? I know what I'm going to do. If anybody wants to find me, when I hang up with you now, I'm going to give my internationalfamilia.com domain, and I'm just going to point it directly to my Facebook profile.
There you go. Perfect.
Internationalfamilia.com. Familia is like Spanish. International Familia ends in not L-Y, but L-I-A.com.
Yep.
Familia. Same way.
Love it.
I'm literally going to do that now, thanks to you. Because
I love it. It's fantastic. And the takeaway here is network, make friends, get connected. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We empower each other so much. We get ideas from each other. I've noticed that this community is so unselfish.
Yeah.
You know, you and I are part of an alumni group, probably a couple of them, and we both see constantly how people are jumping in and saying, hey, so, you know, I need help with this, or I need help with that. Anybody have any suggestions about this? And heck, that's how I'm here on this thing with you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, thanks to you. So it was awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you again.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. It was great to catch up and hear what you're working on. I love the alter ego messenger bot. I'm going to have to go work on that. It's amazing. All right. Thanks so much.
Miami Beach. Anytime you're in Miami Beach or anybody else that's listening to this, if you come and you let me know that you heard me on this podcast, I'll tell you where to go. Don't waste your time. I'll tell you where to go. There's great spots here. There's city areas and there's great spots. So I'll definitely let you know that. Miami or Miami
I will
Beach.
be there in February. So
nice.
I'll be
to hear from you.
Yeah. You will.
Good.
Awesome. Thanks
Good.
so much, Michael.